Good evening and thank you and welcome to our very first FY 2026 Residents Budget Hearing. Last week marked the beginning of my 7th year as your Howard County Executive, and I couldn't be more honored by this experience to work together to ensure the very best quality of life for all Howard County residents, businesses, and visitors. Throughout my time in public service, our community has shown up for each other and advocated for the very best facilities and services. During these last 6 years, we've accomplished so much, and yet there's still more to be done. And your input is vital as we work together to maintain critical services and consider how we continue to make progress. Every comment and testimony we receive through our budget hearings is considered and reviewed by our team. In fact, we have several members on the team listening and taking notes tonight. Your engagement and input in this process matters, so I thank you all for participating in our budget process tonight. And now I'll turn it over to Safa, who will provide logistics on tonight's hearing and announce the names of those who are registered to testify this evening.
Good evening. Before we begin hearing from you, we have just a few logistical items to go through. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed. If you are unable to testify due to technical issues, we are also taking written testimony to ensure every voice is considered during the budget process. In addition, our team at DTCS, our tech team, is here to assist with any tech issues, so please feel free to drop that in the chat. All testimony, written and oral, is considered by our team. Please send any written testimony to budgettestimony@howardcountymd.gov. Each person will have up to 3 minutes to testify, and those who represent an organization will have up to 5 minutes. Only one person from each organization will receive 5 minutes to testify. You'll be called based upon the order of registration. Everyone is currently muted to avoid background noises. When it is your turn to testify, your name will be called and you will receive a notification to unmute yourself. If you're having any difficulty, please send a note in the chat and our tech team will do their best to assist. All testimony will be audio only to minimize broadband issues and to ensure we can hear you clearly. Per tradition, we will begin our hearing tonight with the youngest among us, our students. First up, we have Taden White, followed by Catherine Whitney.
Taylor White's been unmuted.
My name is Taden White. I'm a junior at Howard High School, and I've been going to the library for a very long time now. From a young age, my parents have been taking me and my siblings to events and classes offered at the library throughout the year. The last couple of years, I've been volunteering at the library over the summers, helping kids at the summer reading program. Recently, I was also asked to be a member of the Team Strategic Subcommittee, also known as the Team Advisory Board. And a little more about me is that I'm the oldest of 3 siblings. I'm going through a program called Howard County Leadership Program. I'm part of the county's ARL program at school, a member of Young Life, and I volunteer for the Special Olympics, among other organizations. In addition, I'm also an active member at my school through various sports activities and clubs. I say all this to show how I represent many kids in Howard County who are already a big part of the community and want to be active in it or have a voice. A reason why I spend so much time volunteering at the library is because I feel strongly about how it provides access to everyone, which is one of the important ideals that Howard County is based upon. The point I'm trying to make is that being active in the school community, I've interacted with many kids my age as well as ones younger and older than me, all of which have benefited knowingly or unknowingly from something at the library. The library offers so many free programs like SAT prep, math help, crafting, coding, book club, and others. And their programs are also available to everyone from ages like toddlers to adults. I even know some kids who come to the library just to study when they don't have a quiet or safe space at home to do so. I'm speaking to you to request that the library operating budget and capital funding for a new Lakefront library be funded. And I had the unique opportunity to be part of the teen library planning committee, and it made me realize just how much the library does in our community. It's not just about free space to work, classes, or even free snacks, which is great, but it's also about accessibility, inclusivity for everyone, and it's so important to reflect the equity and equality that this county is about. Since there are a lot of teens and preteens, the community could the community that building a new library could benefit from. And overall, a new lakefront library would mean a lot to the community of teens who are looking for a place where they belong, a supportive community, a safe space, or even just a place they can get away from home to study. A new branch would help provide additional safe spaces for teens to come and even a space for hangout or collaboration. It's also one of the best platforms to connect to individuals around the community, and I know firsthand. Thank you so much for your time and listening to my testimony. I hope that you will make the right decision for us, current teenagers, and future ones all across the county. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Next up, we have Catherine Whitney, followed by Neil Goturi.
Request to unmute Catherine has been sent. Looks like we just lost her audio.
Okay, we will circle back to Catherine. We'll hear Neil next.
One moment, please. Request to unmute Neil has been sent.
Neil, can you hear us? Neil, are you there?
Neil, you should have a message to unmute yourself.
Okay, we will circle back to Neil. Next up, we have Julianne Dana.
One moment, please. Request to unmute to Julianne has been sent.
Julianne, can you hear us?
Can't unmute.
Okay. Oh, Julianne? Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. My name is Julie Dana, and I am here to advocate for and request funding for a safer Frederick Road corridor. After 60 years, the hundreds of residents of Dunlogan have finally gotten pedestrian and bike access to the library and senior center. We are so grateful for the wonderful team who helped make this happen and the sidewalk to Northfield. As a community leader, I have residents tell me how often they use it for their daily walks, runs, and many of it actually used to go vote in the fall. We are asking for continued progress on Frederick Road, continuing the sidewalk on the south side, including 2 crosswalks and intersection modifications at Frederick Road and St. John's Lane, so that we are able to safely walk to the many businesses in that area. Just today, I saw 2 teens taking advantage of the warm weather run across St. John's Lane in traffic while the light was green, heading home from 7-Eleven with Slurpees in their hands. Many neighbors are walking and biking to Breezy Willow, Rita's, the stores on the northeast corner, and more, whether we have that safe crossing or not. In addition, our neighbors in the West End are struggling with speeding and other traffic-related problems. Continued investment along historic Frederick Road and budgeting for the Department of Public Works to fund policy changes and improvements for pedestrian access is greatly needed. Unlike many of my neighbors, I've only lived in Dunlogan for a few years, but I hope that by the time my little ones are teens, we'll be able to safely walk to Midnight Madness, Sprouts, or the Train Garden at the Ellicott City Fire Station easily and safely. We hope to see continued improvements in our area with the planned pedestrian projects in Walk Howard. Thank you for your time, and a huge thank you to Chris Singleton at the DPW for answering endless questions and emails and working within our community. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. Next up, we'll go back to Catherine Whitney and Neil Goturi.
Request to unmute Catherine has been sent.
Catherine, you should have received a request to unmute. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and we should be able to hear you. No? Okay, you want to try Neil? Catherine, we'll circle back.
Okay.
Oh, I think we got her.
Oh,
We can hear you. Go ahead.
all right, thank you. Good evening. My name is Catherine Whitney, and I'm a senior at Riverhill. Our schools are the cornerstone of Howard County's success, and they are why lots of families move here, why businesses invest here, and why so many of us are proud to call this community our home. But today, our schools are at crossroads, and the decisions we make now will define the future of our children and our county. The reality is clear. We can't keep asking more of our educators while giving them less. The strain on our teachers, staff, and students is real. Attendance is slipping, social and emotional needs are going unmet, and the resources our schools need to prepare students for a changing economy are increasingly out of reach. Retention and hiring are becoming harder with every passing year, and these challenges aren't going away, they're growing. County Executive Wall, we want to work with you to tackle these issues. Let's identify new revenue streams and ensure we have the resources to make Maryland's blueprint for education a reality. We don't have to choose between great schools and the amenities that make Howard County exceptional. We can and must have both. This is a critical moment. Our schools need a rescue package. This is more than numbers on a page. It's about protecting the future of our community. Bill, we urge you to propose a budget that reflects the needs of our students. And Calvin, we ask you to prioritize that budget and provide the funding necessary to give our children the education they deserve. As parents, students, educators, and alumni, we see what's happening in our schools. We see the needs and the challenges and the opportunities, and we stand here ready to help, to be partners in building a brighter future for our children. But we can't do it alone. We need bold leadership. Let's act now to ensure Howard County remains a beacon of educational excellence. Our children and future are counting on us. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. We will go back to Neil Goturi, followed by Reese Leftridge.
Request to unmute Neil's been sent. Neil, you should receive the message to unmute.
Neil, you may want to try hitting *6 to unmute. Oh, there we go. Neil?
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Ball and other members of the County Executive's Office that are here with us today to hear this important testimony regarding the budget process for this year. My name is Neil Guteri, and I'm a senior at Riverhill High School. I'm here tonight as a Howard County Public Schools student. I've been here K-12 to share my perspective and highlight how critical it is that we invest in our schools. Now, growing up in this county, I've always felt fortunate to be part of a public school system that is recognized as one of, if not the best in the country, a model for the nation of educational excellence and equity in practice. But right now, and as a growing trend, I see the challenges in our schools that concern me, not just for myself, but for all of us as a community, particularly as we move forward. Simply put, we cannot afford to invest less and less in our educators, staff, and other certificated professionals and expect our schools to deliver the excellence that students deserve and that parents have moved here to receive. Underfunding and a chronic loss of funds has a cost. It shows in student attendance, the unmet social and emotional needs of peers, particularly those who come from vulnerable backgrounds, in the widening gap between what our schools are equipped to do and the realities of our changing economy. And we are seeing the strain in our classrooms where teachers are stretched very thin and resources fall short. This chronic unmet need has trickled down to our county's most privileged schools. Riverhill is a great example. With the budget cuts last year, Riverhill would not be able to run a full Spanish 5 class. So pretty good amount of students would not be able to take this AP class because there would simply be no one to teach it. Now, because our educators are so enthusiastic about their jobs and they have such genuine passion for helping the students achieve their goals, they stepped up to rearrange the schedule and offered a blended class of Spanish 4 and Spanish 5, the class that I'm currently in. And the teachers are constantly working to make sure that all students can get what they deserve. But I believe very firmly that that is an unfair reality we are pushing upon our educators, where they must stretch themselves thin, create 2 lesson plans when they only have 1 spot, double the amount of students to work with, double the amount of 501s to work around, and continue to expect them to perform at the same levels and not get burnt out. And for those reasons, I'm asking for you to provide excellent quality funding for our schools this year in your budget. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Raquel Reese-Leftridge, followed by Brian Trike.
Raquel is not present.
Okay. Next, we'll hear from Brian Trike, followed by Samantha Brady.
He is present. The request to unmute has been sent, and if you do not receive a request, just select the unmute button down in the lower center.
Brian, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm going to try to be brief here. I'm here as a parent of 3 daughters, 2 of which are currently in the school system, and 1 will be in a couple of years. I'm here to advocate for High School 14 to be built in Elkridge. I know that County Executive Calvin Ball has supported that in the past, and I greatly appreciate that. And I just want to highlight that and wish that we continue to see support in that direction of a new high school being built in Elkridge. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Next up, we'll hear from Samantha Brady, followed by Bill McCormick.
Request to unmute Samantha has been sent. And Samantha, if you don't receive the request, just select the unmute button in the lower center.
Samantha? Okay, we will circle back to Samantha and we'll go to Bill. Oh, never mind. I think you found it.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Samantha Brady, and I live in the Dunlogan neighborhood with my family, including my 3 young boys, and soon to be my 4th, my daughter. Daily, we walk to Northfield Elementary with many other neighbors. Our neighborhood has recently turned over, and there are tons and tons of young families walking every day. My concern is on our street, we don't have sidewalks on Crescent Road, and my children and many others have been nearly hit many times. There's a very dangerous blind hill on Crescent Road. And the drivers are very distracted, either texting or just, speeding and rushing to drop off their children to school in the mornings. So it's really a big concern for everyone in the neighborhood, I would think. Several solutions have already been proposed, mainly for traffic calming. However, it's not really considering the safety of the kids and the pedestrians in our community walking to and from, or even, people running and jogging. It's not just the kids, but, that's a huge concern for us. So we really feel like, there need to be sidewalks on Crescent Road. So please consider this when you're putting your budgeting together. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony.
Next up, we'll hear from Bill McCormick, followed by Yi Han.
One moment, please. Bill McCormick does not have audio set up. So Bill, please check your audio.
Bill, we will circle back to you and we'll go to Yi Han.
The request to unmute you has been sent.
Hear me?
We can hear you.
My name is Ihan, and I'm an adult with undiagnosed autism residing in Ellicott City. I'm also the father of two young boys on spectrum, one aged 4-year-old, one aged 2-year-old. Recently, there has been alarming hate speech directed towards special needs students and their families at the SEAC monthly meetings. I personally believe the FY25 public school budget is one of the significant factor contributing to this issue. As you may be aware, the Howard County Public School has faced substantial program cuts like GT and third grade streams, while special education at the pre-K level has now been heavily impacted because of Blueprint. Significant co-teaching initiatives has been reduced in elementary school as well. Regretfully, the situation has led to confusion and misinformation among the community members, causing hostility towards the special needs families. Some believe wrongly that special education is disproportionately consuming the public school budget at the expense of general education students. Consequently, the budget shortfall has inevitably fostered a desertive environment with special needs families, general education families, typical teachers, and special education teachers feeling compelled to engage in subtle or offered forms of bullying and conflict. Therefore, I'm ready to advocate for the proper allocation of resources to the public school system by the county executive and the budget office. I've quoted the following information from an analysis report posted on Dr. Chao Wu's website. Since COVID-19 pandemic, the percentage of the county's budget allocated to public schools from a general fund revenue has decreased from historic norm of 58% to 53.59%. If the 58 allocation were maintained, the county general fund revenue would provide additional $67 million than the superintendent's proposed FY25 budget. Current state law mandates the county government maintains at least the same level of funding per student each year, known as a maintenance effort. However, the MOE doesn't account for inflation costs and the increase of demand, such as those for English language learners and special education. FYI, the enrollment of special education students at Howard County Public School has risen to 12%. These increased requirements are also driven by Maryland's Blueprint for the Future program, which expects the county to contribute additional fundings to complement state fundings. In a county in Howard, which highly values its education systems, these considerations should be central to the budget discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
We will go back to Bill McCormick, followed by Greg Schuchman.
Bill's audio still has not been corrected.
Okay, Bill, we will circle back to you. We'll go to Greg Schuchman next.
Greg is not present.
Okay, we'll go to Tonya Aiken.
One moment, please. Tonya is present and request has been sent.
Tonya, are you there?
Tonya, if you didn't get the message to unmute yourself, just select the unmute button.
It popped up. Thank you so much.
There we go. We can hear you.
Good evening, Dr. Ball, Ms. Gantz, Ms. Cabellon, and Dr. Sun. I am Tonya Aikens, President and CEO of Howard County Library System and a resident of Columbia. Thank you for your longtime support and for the opportunity to testify on behalf of Howard County's residents who value the education for all ages provided by the library. Our new strategic plan, released last year, focuses on 3 key areas. All children enter school ready to learn, with emphasis on ages birth to 3. Teens and young adults feel a sense of urgency, agency, and belonging, and an inclusive, connected community where everyone feels they belong. The board's proposed budget enables us to move forward in these areas. Our operating budget request includes an increase to provide COLA and merit increases for our dedicated and talented team. Providing competitive salaries is critical to retaining and recruiting staff who are essential to building relationships and co-creating with our community. Our team promotes community building through enhanced community engagement and connection in alignment with HCLS's vision of an empowered community where all people reach their potential. Our community borrowed 7.4 million items in our collection in print, online, and special collections last fiscal year, and we're on track to exceed that number this year. We have the second highest per capita borrowing in the state. Our budget request includes a small increase to fund anticipated publishing increases in materials, as well as anticipated increases in the use of materials in all formats. Our ongoing goal is to maintain the caliber of our collection, meet customer demands for new content formats, and lessen wait times for materials, especially time-bound requests related to student learning and school assignments. Community members tell us they borrow materials and attend classes in neighboring library systems so they don't have to wait for books and other items to become available here. This also means that community members with limited mobility, transportation issues, or other barriers to securing materials elsewhere are simply going without. We also request a modest increase to support our commitment to developing our team, including training on new technologies and operational models, equipping them to provide high-quality instruction efficiently and effectively. We will continue to operate optimally, being good stewards of the tax dollars entrusted to us and returning the highest value to the community. On behalf of our community, I respectfully ask you to invest in everyone in our community and fully fund the HCLS Board of Trustees budget request. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for your service to our community and your partnership.
Next, we'll hear from Lori Lilly, followed by Ryan Powers.
One moment, please. Request on mute has been sent to Lily.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, as always, for the opportunity to speak and testify this evening. My name is Lori Lilly, and I am the founder and executive director of Howard EcoWorks. EcoWorks engages and educates the community about environmental sustainability and restoration while creating pathways to green jobs through our workforce development programs. The past year saw continued support to the county through implementation of debris management efforts under the Safe and Sound Plan, maintenance of capital stream restoration projects and bioretention facilities, continued tree planting and pollinator garden installations in urban and underserved areas, and the administration of multiple green jobs and green career exploration programs. We continued our partnership with the State Department of Labor for a Green Infrastructure Workforce Development Program and the Baltimore Region's Climate Corps Network. We partnered with the State Department of Service and Civic Innovation to host 2 Climate Corps members. And we are excited to launch a new state partnership in 2025 with the Maryland Forest Service to continue engaging vulnerable communities in forest management efforts. Our biggest achievement by far was acquiring 16 acres of land in Glenwood, Holly Hills, to serve as our new centralized headquarters, a regional green jobs training center, hub of biodiversity and conservation, and much more. We are extremely grateful to Howard County and especially to you, County Executive Ball, for your support. With this new land and its buildings, EcoWorks will be able to grow its impact in the community in so many ways. One big opportunity that we see in 2025 is to launch an AmeriCorps program. We've been excited to have been awarded an AmeriCorps planning grant from the Governor's Office of Service and Civic Volunteerism this past fall. This grant gives us the capacity and support to develop an AmeriCorps program and submit an operating grant this spring to launch our program in the fall. We envision a climate resiliency corps to support Howard County, adjacent jurisdictions, and nonprofits in the region. We believe that climate change is manifested in our everyday lives with increasing floods, higher temperatures, and drought. To support this belief, our AmeriCorps members will engage in disaster preparedness and recovery efforts, as well as implement nature-based climate solutions, particularly in and with vulnerable, underserved communities and populations. A couple of examples of what this could look like here in Howard County. 1, additional workforce after disasters. While Ellicott City did receive support from AmeriCorps after the Ellicott City floods, those teams were brought in from national programs and did not stay very long. A regional team supported locally can provide more capacity for a longer period of time after disasters. 2, programming at the detention center. EcoWorks has maintained a partnership with the detention center since 2016 with mixed successes, challenges, and funding. AmeriCorps members could provide more continuous and adequately supported programming at the detention center. 3, support for implementing the county's natural hazards mitigation plan, including activities such as delivering education around preparedness and serving at-risk populations such as elderly persons, unhoused people, and persons with access and functional needs disabilities. This would happen through effective public outreach on various hazards. These are just a few of the examples of how AmeriCorps can support our community. As an AmeriCorps graduate myself from 25 years ago, I can attest to the program's impact on the members as well. I would not have the commitment to community service or be the change maker that I am today without AmeriCorps. We hope that Howard County will partner with EcoWorks and AmeriCorps to make our community stronger and more resilient to the impacts of climate change and natural disasters. We sincerely thank you for your past and current partnership and support and wish you all the best for a safe and happy holiday. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for being a change maker partner.
Next, we'll hear from Ryan Powers, followed by Victoria Hathaway.
The request to unmute Ryan's been sent. Ryan, you should have received a request to unmute yourself. If you did not see it, there should be a unmute button that you would select.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry. Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Ball and staff. The Howard County Public School System cannot have another back-breaking budget year like it did last year. Teachers and staff were fired, class sizes went up, and everything just got a little bit worse. Howard County cannot let its students sit like a frog in a pot, slowly turning up the temperature on stress and overcrowding. It can't make its teachers do more and telling kids that they have to do more with less. Dr. Ball, you said in your State of the County speech, we lead on historic educational investments and our ongoing commitment to our young people and educators. But this is not true for our school system. Year after year, the percentage of HCPSS funding received by the county goes down. Fiscal year 25 was the lowest level of the county investment in HCPSS in at least 8 years, from around a high of 52.6% to this year's 46.2%. We cannot use our schools as the goose who laid the golden egg. A study by the SAGE Policy Group done in 2016 concluded that the quality of the Howard County schools was approximately $265.7 million in added value. Today, that could easily be over $1 billion of added taxable value because of high property values and incomes. But it won't stay that way if the county does not invest in the fundamentals, ensure adequate school buildings, smaller class sizes, and great teachers and staff. One thing you can do right away is change the maintenance of effort formulas for our schools so that it counts for the cost of the blueprint. Instead of always having to fight funding for over MOE, perhaps this will add more stability in planning for future school budgets. There should be more dedicated revenue streams for the schools as well. At least some members of the County Council have acknowledged that the funding HCPSS capital budgets receives is not enough. But sadly, even though this is your first public hearing, you cannot add money to the BOE's capital budget because they have already approved it. The public should always have a chance to give their input before things like this happens. Please hold at least some public hearings in September or even over the summer so that the public has a chance to discuss this. Your staff, and by extension you, have always been willing to engage residents about their budget concerns. I do want to thank you for your help in fully restoring GT third grade students as well as other things like DSAP summer program last year. But I think the county can give a lot more. We don't need an indoor track facility, a public garden, a $68 million cultural arts center the public owns only 23% of, or a $100 million plus library if we can't maintain the things we already have in good condition. Like, those sound great, but again, the fundamentals. Anyway, thank you for your time.
And thank you for your time and testimony.
Next up, we'll hear from Victoria Hathaway, followed by Jade Chang.
Request has been sent to Victoria. Victoria, you should have received the request to unmute, or you can select the unmute button.
everyone, and thanks for all that you do for our citizens of Howard County. I am 60 years old and a lifelong resident of Howard County, and my purpose tonight in speaking to you is to advocate for Howard County's older adults. In 2020, Howard County had already become the majority minority county for those who are 50 plus. And I think that we probably all do have an understanding that doing things for older adults makes a better community for everyone. It would be wonderful to see increased funding for services and programs, including expansion of home and community-based services. This allows older adults to stay home but receive health care, supportive services, meal delivery programs such as Meals on Wheels, and respite services for family caregivers. It would be wonderful to see additional and increased support for aging in place initiatives. So those could be home modifications. There's a growing demand for senior housing, and we need affordable, accessible housing for older adults. To advocate for funding to increase the supply of age-friendly housing options is definitely high on my list tonight when I'm speaking to you, and that includes both independent and assisted living. I think we definitely need to address social isolation and increase the support for mental and behavioral health. The fact that the 50 plus centers do such a phenomenal job allowing for a space for people to come together and create community, peer support groups, education, empowerment. It's a wonderful program, but I think we're looking at increased demography and increased demand on staffing and the dollars to make all of that happen. Mental health services for older adults, extremely important. Depression and anxiety are common among older adults, but often go unaddressed. Workforce development and training, increasing job opportunities for older adults. Nutrition and wellness initiatives are key, and to also be able to have the digital divide addressed with improved access to technology and digital literacy. I thank you so much for the opportunity to come and speak. Thank you for everything that you are already doing, and just love to be able to keep on it and increase the support. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your testimony and your advocacy for our older adults and the funding needs there too.
Thank you. Next up, we'll hear from Jade Chang, followed by Susan Garber.
Jade is not present.
Okay, next we'll hear from Susan Garber, followed by Nadim Aslam.
One moment, please. I have a Susan with no last name. I will unmute Susan.
Hey, Susan, have you received a request to unmute yourself? Susan, are you with us? Okay, we will circle back to Susan. Next, we'll hear from Nadim Aslam, followed by Kathleen Riley.
Nadim is not present.
Okay, so next we'll hear from Kathleen Riley, followed by Kat Carter.
Kathleen is not present.
Okay, next we'll hear.
Oh, Kathleen is?
Better Kate.
Hold on a second.
Where she was. Yeah, Kate rather.
Okay, we'll hear from Kathleen Riley.
Request unmute's been sent to Kate. Kate, you should have received the request to unmute. If you don't see it, just hit the unmute button.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. So my name is Kate Riley, and thank you for finding me on the list. I'm here tonight on behalf of Casey Cares, the Village Environmental Group for King's Contrivance. As you already know, we're facing an issue with deer overpopulation, and it's having serious consequences for our local woodlands and for homeowners who are trying to create healthy landscapes. If you look around at our forests while you're out walking our paths, you'll notice that there are almost no young trees. And that's because deer are overgrazing the young plants and saplings, in fact, everything they can reach, preventing young oaks, maples, and other native trees from maturing. Without that new growth, our forests can't regenerate, and we lose the biodiversity that's so important for a healthy ecosystem. According to the National Park Service, 70% of parks in the eastern U.S. are classified as in imminent or probable failure, primarily due to deer browse of saplings. Our woods in Howard County are suffering the same fate. Right now, our county has only one fully compensated wildlife biologist working to preserve our natural resources through deer management. But one person can only do so much, and without offering a livable salary and compensation, we can't attract and keep another one. We're asking Howard County, on behalf of the 450 resident members of King's Contrivance Cares, to fully fund a second wildlife biologist position. Effective deer management will help protect our agriculture, water quality, property values, and local climate resilience. Without adequate staff, we risk doing long-term damage to the resources that make our county such a great place to live and work. It's easy to overlook just how much healthy forests and landscapes mean to us beyond the environment. They're actually crucial to our local economy. They help clean our water, protect our land from flooding, and support the pollinators that make sure we have food on our tables. Healthy woodlands, agriculture, and gardens also help maintain property values, which supports jobs and brings in tax revenue for our community. In short, our deer problem isn't just an environmental issue, it's also an economic one. So the question is this: how can we afford not to offer a livable salary and benefits to someone who's playing such an essential role in both our environment and our economy? It's a small investment that will pay off in the long run, helping to ensure that our forests stay healthy, our water stays clean, and our property values keep rising. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your testimony.
Next, we'll hear from Catherine Carter, followed by Richard Love.
Request to unmute Catherine's been sent.
Kat, are you there?
Kat, you should have received an unmute request.
Not the request. It's a little delayed, just to let you know. So, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, perfect. Good evening. My name is Kat Carter. I'm a vision advocate, VP of issues for the PTA of Howard County, former project manager for the Howard County Public School System Eye Exam Outreach Program, and the consumer advocate on the Maryland Board of Examiners for Optometry. I am speaking in my personal capacity. My first ask is to fund our schools at the levels that our schools need. Howard County's #1 product is the schools. It's been an economic win for decades. However, because elected officials spent money on other things, they have failed to continue to invest and sustain the quality of our schools, and the cracks are showing as schools get less and less piece of the budget percentage. If Howard County schools lose their reputation, then people will live someplace else with less taxes and better schools, and our property values and community will struggle. 4.2 million will reduce our class sizes that were increased last year in high school and middle school classrooms. If we were to fund our schools we could actually add 13 full-time athletic trainers, one for each high school, to ensure the safety and health of our student athletes. This proposal was done last year for $618,000 to enable this, but it was cut from the budget. We asked for the funding to bring that back, so that way our athletes can be training and playing safely. It really comes, quote, according to the athletic trainer, it's really coming to a head now because we have other school systems that are following the full-time model, and they are moving forward with it, he said during the BOE meeting. That puts a lot of pressure on the other local school systems in the area to do the same. We are a moment here with the athletic trainers. We can either fund them now or be scrambling later on. This is the health and safety of our student athletes. In addition, I am here advocating for $100,000 to add vision care to Howard County's federally qualified health centers. For anyone who wears glasses, imagine what life would be like without them. How would you navigate school, drive, or do your job? For many in Howard County, this isn't just a thought experiment. It is their daily reality. We are spending thousands of dollars to screen our children. However, the teachers union and the school system have reached out to me because there are no longer eye exam vouchers available for our students. And so I'm asking for your support with that. In the end, we all came to Howard County because we knew this would be a good place to raise our children, but the investments have not been there, and we are asking for you to do so. Thank you for your time. I appreciate the effort. Thanks.
Thank you for your testimony.
Next, we'll hear from Richard Love, followed by Megan Cole.
The request to unmute Richard has been sent.
Richard, please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Good evening, council members. My name is Richard Love, a resident of Columbia, Maryland, Village of Kings Contrivance. As with many Columbia residents, I am within easy walking distance of Columbia open spaces and the surrounding Middle Patuxent watershed. I was fortunate to move here in 1976 from California, when Columbia was far less developed than it is now. I brought my outdoorsy curiosity with me and took every opportunity I could to hike, walk, and discover my new mid-Atlantic natural environment in the many parks and natural areas available to us. At that time, I didn't really notice many deer. Over these past 4 decades of my amateur naturalist observations, it is abundantly clear to me that now our natural forested areas in Howard County are in serious decline, mainly because of deer overpopulation. Parks and Recs estimates countywide deer population at 75 per square mile, and in many areas where deer seek shelter near homes and gardens, close to 150, numbers far above sustainability, generally considered to be 7 to 15. Everyone understands the serious consequences of native white-tailed deer overpopulation. Native forest regeneration will come to a halt, and the invasives not eaten by the deer will thrive and eventually consume our forest. Our county government and you, our county representatives, are proud to promote Howard County as one of the greatest counties in the U.S. to live in. We have Live Green Howard, Howard County Conservancy's Green Center, the Howard County Sustainability Office, Green Fest, on and on. All programs that Howard County actively support. Thank you. These are the very programs and services that keep residents like me here and new residents wanting to move here. With commitments like these, I'd like to ask Howard County to budget for a deer management plan that is effective and sustainable, one that includes funding for additional wildlife management staff and a budget substantial enough to bring the deer population down to a sustainable level within a reasonable time frame. I urge you to act now. In 2023, New Jersey declared a state of emergency on the overpopulation of deer, where in some counties the deer population was as high as 270 individuals per square mile. Why? Because they waited too long to take action. Let's not go in that direction so that Howard County can live up to our well-earned reputation. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Next, we'll hear from Megan Cole, followed by Paul Verchinsky.
Megan is not present.
Okay, so next we'll hear from Paul Verchinsky, followed by Pearl Seidman.
The request to unmute has been sent to Paul.
Paul, are you with us?
Paul, if you can hit the unmute button or select to accept the unmute.
Okay, Paul, we will circle back with you. We'll go to Pearl Seidman.
One moment, please. Consent.
Good evening, Dr. Ball and all. My name is Pearl Seidman, almost 5-decade resident of Howard County. My career and research have been in social science. I am also a weed warrior and newly minted watershed steward. My remarks concern our ecosystem, the need to balance our deer population, and address divergent cultural ways of seeing. On the subject of culture, I commend you, Dr. Ball, Councilwoman Liz Walsh, and members of the County Council on the passage of the Charter Amendment establishing the County Office of the Inspector General. As a resident, I was proud to see David Plimer's commentary in Maryland Matters titled A Tale of Two Counties, A Tale of Two Cultures, which contrasted the transparency and accountability of Howard County's process to that of Baltimore County. A culture of integrity and strong leadership are pivotal for good governance. Now, bottom line up front. We need a holistic systems approach to conserve deer and habitat. And county residents, especially those like me who largely live in the suburban side of eastern Howard County, need to be educated about the interdependencies involved in conservation. Deer are a keystone species for forest ecosystems. They provide important benefits. They are food for hunters who also supply meat to the Maryland Food Bank. At the right populations, deer contribute to plant reproduction and biodiversity by acting as seed dispersers. That's why we need indigenous plants in conjunction with deer population balancing. Balancing should not only count deer numbers per square mile. A holistic systems approach is needed to conserve deer, other wildlife, and native plant populations. Experts suggest monitoring indicator species, particularly plant habitats. For example, assess the decline of some plants in the presence of grazing pressure and the increase of species like grasses, sedges, ferns, and deer ticks, which increase with deer overpopulation. Rich biodiversity should be the ultimate goal. If Howard County is already using a systems approach in deer management, it's not evident to me. Second, collaborative effort between wildlife managers, conservationists, and local stakeholders is needed to develop context-specific solutions. We are living the tale of East and West Howard County, a tale of two cultures. Hunting in Western Howard County is embedded to a greater degree, and farmers know well the agricultural costs of deer overpopulation. A quote from Maryland Department of Agriculture Secretary Kevin Addix earlier this year: while deer are a crucial part of the state's ecosystem, they also cause significant damage to crops, forest regeneration, and private and commercial landscaping. East and West have different experiential lenses. Education is warranted from cross-disciplinary
Ms.
subjects.
Seidman, I'm sorry, your time is up.
That's great. Happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you for your testimony. Happy holidays, and please give our newest attorney my very best.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Ball. That's way cool. I will.
Next, we'll hear from Paul Verchinsky, followed by Anthony DeBella.
The request to unmute has been sent to Paul. Paul, you should either have a pop-up message to unmute, or you should be able to select the unmute button.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yes, we can.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Ball. I am Paul Verchinsky, testifying as a board member of the Howard County Citizens Association, HCCA. And we would like to provide some suggestions regarding the budget. We note and congratulate you on the quote, the first age-friendly Howard County 5-year program progress report has been completed and approved by AARP, close quotes. This report was facilitated and launched by you on December 3rd, 2019. It has a 5-year development history with participation by over 3,000 community residents, including many of our members. In the past, HCCA has initiated discussions on older adult issues via forums held with the Howard County Office on Aging. In the report, you know, quote, Howard County government as the primary responsible party for many of the action steps, close quotes. This report will only be as good as its implementation in a timely manner. None of us are getting any younger as time goes by. Most county residents over 65 want to continue to enjoy and live in their current residences. The older adult population now comprises over 20% of the county's 340,000 population, or approximately 70,000 individuals. The following are suggestions based on the report. 1, we are aware that the Howard County Office on Aging and Independence recently received a $100,000 grant to assess residents for long-term livability, provided they are income qualified. This is high priority since residents need to know if they can successfully age in their existing residences, if they need to make substantial renovations, or if they need to move to more suitable accommodations. We suggest that one full-time equivalent occupational therapist be hired to provide home evaluation similar to what is being done through the grant. At one time, the Office on Aging provided this as a county service when reached 65. Second, Howard County is noted for its volunteers and the number of nonprofits. We note in the report that, quote, 28% of all respondents reported that they would like to volunteer more in the coming year, close quotes. This clearly benefits all residents. However, Howard County does not have a volunteer clearinghouse where residents could call to find available volunteer opportunities and for nonprofit organizations to post volunteer positions. We suggest one full-time equivalent be hired and located at the Office on Aging and Independence, since many volunteers are retired. Third, for more than 10 years, the county has offered tax credits to assist older adults. These credits do make a difference in an era of rising inflation and few pensions. The Aging in Place tax credit provides a 20% credit for individuals who have owned their homes for 40 plus years. The county council extended eligibility to a total of 8 years. For residents that initially received this credit, the 8 years will expire next year. We suggest you budget for a further extension of the credit beyond 8 years. As a side note, we suggest that the Department of Licenses, Inspections, and Permits update the Universal Design Guidelines. Quote, Universal Design Guidelines have been mandated in all 55 plus communities for nearly 20 years, close quotes. During the past 20 years, the ARP has substantially revised the Universal Design Guidelines. This should be done especially because of the proliferation of the construction of 55 plus communities in our county. The number of 55 plus units which have been constructed since January 2020 and are planned to be built as of this month total 1,440 units. The source is the Department of Planning and Zoning, which filled our requests when we asked for the information. We thank you for the opportunity to provide our suggestions for the upcoming budget and would appreciate feedback regarding our testimony so that we can post that on our listserv. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your testimony. As you know, there has been an explosion in our older adult population in the last several years, and our Office of Aging is making significant progress, but I think your ideas are ideas they definitely will definitely consider. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Anthony DeBella, and then we will circle back to Susan Garber.
Request to unmute Anthony has been sent.
Quick sound check.
Yep, we got you.
Thank you very much. My name is Anthony DeBella, and I live in Laurel. And while Howard County has the capacity to pay for many amenities, we must remember that our public schools are the bedrock of our communities and the foundation of our economic growth, in addition to being mandated by state law. In fact, the state of Maryland is mandating that we increase our commitment to education to meet the aspirations of the blueprint for Maryland's future. Howard County's operating budgets dating back to 2021 have cited, quote, on average, over 60% of general fund operating budget has been allocated for education in recent years. Well, in FY 2020, your first operating budget proudly cited, education is the top funding priority of my administration. Later noted, county spending on education represents 64% of our total general fund resources. So why the change in language? Well, successive budgets show a steady decline in Howard County spending on education by the county executive's own measure, falling from 61% in FY 22 down to 55% in FY 25. Increases in the dollar amounts allocated don't measure up to the increases in costs measured by CPIU. Howard County has also steadily backed away from its financial commitment to our public schools by any other measure I've found publicly available. The share of Howard County Schools general fund revenue expenses borne by the county has dropped from 77% in 2019 to 73% in FY 26, letting the state bear an increased share of our own obligation while starving the public schools of available resources. As income and property valuations rose with inflation, per capita general fund revenue has remained relatively steady in inflation-adjusted dollars, and in fact, for FY 25 is 8% higher than its highest recent value in 2009. That is, incomes for everyone outside education. Teachers settled for a 3.5% raise, and library staff were offered 2%, while county employees received raises of 5 to 7%, all while middle and high school students had class sizes increase to the detriment of a broad and diverse curriculum, as the students who testified earlier noted. You know how highly valued academic curriculum is in Howard County, and found a way to collaborate with our new superintendent and Board of Education to avoid further cuts to academic programs this past year that represent the core of the school system's function. We expect that last year's public engagement will convince you that further reductions to academics will not be tolerated. I call on you and our county council to publicly commit increased funding sufficient to accommodate the public school system's response to mandates from Maryland's Blueprints to the Future, their commitments to employees and students, and supporting the best of our superintendent's worthwhile priorities to strategically position Howard County Public Schools as a desired destination for students, teachers, and their families. I hope that he and the Board of Education will request sufficient funds to meet the demonstrated needs of our students and educators. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony.
Okay, we're going to circle back to Susan Garber, followed by Justine Schaefer.
Request has been sent to Susan.
Susan, are you with us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, I must admit I'm out of practice and a little rattled by technical issues. But at any rate, good evening. I'm Susan Garber, happy to be representing the Savage Community Association as a board member. I'm here to speak on more focused things related specifically to our community. I recently sent to Vicki Garcia a list of SEA's budget wishes, as well as a description of our process to prioritize them. Interestingly, there was a three-way tie for top priority and then a four-way tie for second. So clearly we feel that between the community and the board, we've identified those things. Most of our wishes fall under the umbrella of the Department of Recreation and Parks. Not surprising, given our savage defense of the environment and historic areas in our area. But the good news is some of these wishes are just to make sure that funding previously promised and plans previously developed will continue to be carried out. Most specifically, the improvements to the Savage Mill Trail, including the bridge across the Little Patuxent. We've been thrilled that the plan presented to us respects Savage's history as well as our economical good sense by proposing to use the historic B&O Railroad crossing, the abutment, for the crossing. Tens of thousands of dollars can be saved by using these abutments, which, after all, have stood the test of time. I think it was a magical sign today that as I went through my email, I found what I will consider a wonderful savings tip, how even more money can be possibly saved on this project. And that is today the Maryland Historic Preservation Capital Grant Program announced its schedule for orientations to the program. And I think this would be a wonderful opportunity to take advantage of making this abutment from the spur to Guilford another part of our recognized historic structures. I would even anticipate we could have sufficient savings to develop additional crossing points as well. But speaking of bridges, another top priority is repainting of the Bowman Bridge. We often hear that it's looking shabby even under the beautiful lights. We would like to urge consideration of what might be more expensive, but that is funding a longer lasting type of paint, even if it is at a higher price. It's just not sustainable to have to continuously repaint the bridge with such a short lifespan on it. An additional priority for far less cost concerns the parkland, which you, Dr. Ball, saved from development and added to our park. The parcel formerly named the Savage Mill Remainder is in need of signage to help the public locate the new trail developed by a team of senior Girl Scouts and volunteers through the SCA's prep grant. We're anxious to offer activities on the parcel that'll ultimately attract more visitors to Savage Mill as well. We look forward to an opportunity to cooperate with DRP in suggesting additional signage and a welcoming gateway. Our final item for the DRP would be to have some additional trees planted in Baldwin Common to restore the canopy. Shade is needed for the many activities there. We'd also like Savage public spaces be made livelier and more attractive with a massive bulb planting that people would want to return each year to experience. Our non-DRP wishes center basically on safer traffic patterns, two in particular: increasing parking on Foundry Street and trying to resolve the unsafe situation at the intersection of Vollmerhausen and Savage Guilford, where our schools are housed. Good news is we are saying, please do not give us a traffic signal or a roundabout. We think there are far less expensive and equally valid ways to solve that problem. Thank you for this opportunity to present this wish list. And as always, we appreciate the things that you do to recognize Savage exists. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you so much for your testimony and your years of partnership and advocacy. And thank you for highlighting Vicki. Vicki is one of the many members of the team who helps work with the community to get all kinds of budget priorities throughout the entire year. So there are numerous ways to make your voices heard other than these budget hearings. So thank you so much for highlighting the team.
Right, thank you. Next, we'll hear from Justine Schaefer, followed by Elizabeth Bannock.
Justine is not present.
Okay, next we'll hear from Elizabeth Bannock, followed by Daniel Matarazzi.
The request to unmute to Liz has been sent.
Liz, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Ball. I'm Liz Bannock, Chair of the Howard County Library Systems Board of Trustees and a resident of Woodbine. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on behalf of our outstanding library system and our capital projects. We support your vision for the growing Elk Ridge community, including plans for a new community center and expanded senior center. Once that new center is complete, we look forward to expanding our library into the vacated senior center space. That new space will be critical for our Elk Ridge area teens and children and their caregivers. It's no secret that more space is desperately needed for teens. Our current teen area at Elk Ridge has limited space and resources for this age group, who like dedicated spaces filled with resources and activities tailored to them. We look forward to using the additional space afforded by the expansion to engage teens and increase their sense of belonging as they navigate the challenges of adolescence. Similarly, we need more space for children and their caregivers to learn and connect. With only 55% of Howard County students testing ready for kindergarten, the need for increased educational play spaces and learning opportunities for age birth through 5 and caregivers is critical. Before our youngest residents are enrolled in preschool, Head Start, or kindergarten, their public education begins in our libraries. The Elk Ridge branch expansion supports the blueprint for Maryland's future in providing space for early learning and resources to ensure all students are successful, as well as the library's new strategic plan to help ensure all children enter kindergarten ready to learn. Teens and young adults feel a sense of agency and belonging, and an inclusive, connected community where everyone feels they belong. Those same goals can be realized with the other two projects that were included in last year's budget, a new Southwest branch and a new Downtown Columbia branch. The funding you included for a site study and a feasibility assessment for a new library and the southwest part of the county will enable our team to work with your team to study potential sites to meet the needs of this growing community. We look forward to receiving the short list of potential sites for the Board of Trustees to review as per their responsibilities outlined in the state statute. As we have noted previously, the Central Branch is undersized not only for current population, but also for the new residents expected with the development of the Lakefront North District. Additionally, the county continues to pour resources into fixing issues in this aging building. Over the past year, the Central Branch has submitted 334 facilities and maintenance tickets, more than any other library branch. These requests encompass a variety of needs, including critical safety concerns, such as addressing leaks from HVAC wall units, elevator maintenance, temperature humidity issues caused by the HVAC malfunctions. 21 tickets were submitted specifically for our elevator-related concerns. Currently, only one elevator is operational. The second elevator has been out of service since November 8th. The company facilities relies on for elevator maintenances faces challenges in sourcing parts due to the elevator's age. Our other tickets addressed HVAC-related problems, including extreme temperature fluctuations beyond the target range, high humidity levels, malfunctioning or leaking HVAC units. As a designated warming and cooling station, these HVAC issues significantly impact the branch's ability to serve the community, particularly its most vulnerable members. The Central Branch experienced 6 closures in fiscal year 24 due to HVAC issues, resulting in a total of 23 hours of lost service to customers. One customer, Mary, shared her frustration, writing, quote, "No held books or other materials could be accessed. I was disappointed to have wasted a trip, especially after checking the hours before driving there. With closures on both Thursday and Friday, I feel it's important for the branch to be open today," end quote. Libraries are uniquely positioned as the only place in the community that serve the educational needs and serve as gathering spaces for literally everyone. When you walk into any of our branches, you will see parents with young children, teens working on homework, business people working remotely, adults participating in book discussion groups, people browsing collections, and the community becoming more connected. As a recent report by Urban Libraries Councils noted, quote, "An analysis of high school graduation rate data from Opportunity Atlas when paired with library locations across the U.S. show that counties that have more library locations are more likely to have a higher high school graduation rate," end quote. Howard County residents place a high value on education, and libraries are a crucial component of our students' education. We look forward to working with you to advance the Elk Ridge branch expansion, a new downtown Columbia library, and a new Southwest branch to better serve everyone from babies to seniors in our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony, your partnership, your support of the libraries, and your reminder that libraries are an important part of our community and education.
Thanks, Dr. Ball.
Next, we'll hear from Daniel Matarazzi, followed by Charles Sinu.
Daniel is not present.
Okay, next we'll go to Charles Sununu.
Charles is not present.
Okay, next we'll hear from Eric Winters.
Eric is present, and request to unmute has been sent.
Eric, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. My talk for the committee, Dr. Ball, Mr. Thompson, and Howard County Resources staff is to request additional manpower in support of the open space restoration, similar to what you heard from Kate Riley, Richard Love, and Pearl Seaman. My recommendation is for action-related deer and other problematic species management and collaboration with the Columbia Association. As you're aware, deer are one of the species greatly damaged forest areas and undergrowth, making wild areas uninhabitable and undesirable for other species. Probably nobody around here has seen it quail at all. Overbrowsing wreaks havoc on plants and trees as well as landscaping neighborhoods. We have all seen the invasive plant and tree takeover through Maryland. So as Pearl mentioned, plant habitats as indicators, such as the tree of heaven, wavy leaf basket grass, Japanese stilt grass, purple loose stripe, multiflora rose, and many, many others, because deer don't eat those. Most of us probably don't notice the dearth of the sapling trees or the native plants as the green space appears great. Deer contribute to the spread and proliferation of invasive plants by removing and eating those edible plants and the trees and saplings, and further reducing competition. Tick populations were also mentioned, and quite a few people and pets in the area have contracted Lyme disease, and other illnesses are on the increase, and also reduces the health of the deer population itself. I'd like to mention I served with Department of Defense and the U.S. Army for a total of 42 years. I've traveled around many states and other countries, and I have seen contribution of invasive species in other areas. I recently found out Columbia Association really hasn't had environmental advocacy representation with Howard County, nor has the CA environmental plan for their approximately 3,600 acres of open space included species management, such as deer, or non-migratory geese, turtles, and etc. Invasive plant management also has a lot to be desired within the CA. Howard County in general and Maryland overall, as can be seen across open space, private residences, commercial leased lands, train and highway rights of way, and throughout. I put down some references on my write-up, and I put down some additional notes for consideration. I believe collaboration with Lisa Terry and the Maryland Veterans Association, the Association of Community Services, EchoWorks, Howard County 50+ centers, outreach could see tremendous support and progress, as well as assist the Maryland DNR in their desires for deer mitigation and management. Thank you, and happy holidays.
Thank you, and happy holidays to you also.
Great. Next, we'll hear from Kevin Murray, followed by Barbara Walks.
The request to unmute has been sent to Kevin.
Dr. Ball?
Yes.
Here in my testimony. I'm here to ask for full funding for the library system. I live in Elkridge, father of 5 children that were all educated in Howard County Public Schools. And now I have 5 grandchildren, 2 of which one's in high school and one's in kindergarten. So I just want to say that the library system, or libraries in general, have been very, very important to my family and I. I grew up in Illinois, and my mother was a librarian, a children's librarian, and taught a lot of kids how to read. And I developed a love for books and learning at a very early age. And since my mom couldn't afford to pay someone to watch my sisters and I, the library was our babysitter. And we frequently worked in the library, stayed in the library, read tons of biographies and different types of books. And I passed that on to my children as they went through the Howard County Public School system. And we frequented the library often, just reading to them when they were younger, going for projects, getting research done at the library, and even taking some of the classes that were offered at the various times. Matter of fact, I was at the opening ceremony for the Elkridge branch. Dr. Ball, I know you attended that ceremony, and my oldest grandson was also there, and he ended up taking STEM classes there. Now we're looking for colleges for him. My youngest son actually took some high-tech classes, learning how to use video editing software. He was always interested in video production, and what he learned there actually ignited him when he even got to high school, and he graduated from the Animation and Interactive Media Academy at the ARL, which spurred him on in college even when he went to Towson and took electronic media and film as his major. And I'm happy to say he's now working for ESPN up in Bristol, Connecticut, where he creates videos for SportsCenter. So you can see the library system the libraries in general have been very important to my family and I would encourage you to fully fund all of the library initiatives. So thank you for allowing me to testify.
Thank you for your testimony.
Next, we'll hear from Barbara Walks, followed by Kevin McIntosh.
The request to unmute bar has been sent.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Barbara Walks. I'm a resident of Elkridge, and I'm testifying tonight in support of the Community Center and 50+ Center for Elkridge. It will be a great addition. However, it will not be complete without a swimming pool. Please consider adding the swimming pool to phase 1 of the project. A swimming pool serves all ages with swim lessons, swim team, recreation, aquasize, and more. Please move the swimming pool to phase 1. In addition, we need a high school built in Elkridge. Building a high school in Elkridge will save on transportation costs, and we will not be losing so many valuable students to private schools if they have a high school in their own neighborhood. Please build a high school in Elkridge as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony and your advocacy for important services in our Elkridge community.
Next, we'll hear from Kevin McIntosh, followed by Shen Zhao.
Kevin is not present.
Okay, next we'll hear from Shen Zhao, followed by Drew Raw.
The request to unmute to Shen has been sent.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. My name is Shen Zhao, and I'm a mother of two boys, both on the autism spectrum. I'm here to testify about the challenges my family faces due to the lack of resources for rec and parks, therapeutic recreation, and accommodation services. My older son, who is 6, needs a one-on-one companion to participate safely and meaningfully in rec and parks program. However, the companion service is neither guaranteed nor consistent, and the arrangements are often confirmed only a day or two before the program begins. When no companion is available, families like mine are left scrambling. The uncertainty is challenging for children with autism who thrive on predictability and routine. It's also unpractical for working parents. In year 2023 alone, due to the lack of a companion, I had to attend the winter break camp with my son myself. I also had to cancel another program and a week-long summer camp, depriving him of valuable experiences. Beyond this, Howard County offers very few therapeutic recreation programs for children under the age 15. These are structured programs designed for individuals with disabilities. For winter 2025, only 3 in-person programs are offered. There are no after-school or summer camp programs at all. Howard County lags far behind our neighboring counties. For example, Montgomery County offers 12 such programs and 3 summer camps. Baltimore County offers 8 programs, including an after-school program, and there's also a performing arts summer camp. Prince George's County offers 9 programs, including after-school programs and parent night out events. In addition, they offer 6 different summer camps. Howard County is among the most affluent areas in Maryland, yet we fail to provide sufficient inclusive services for children with disabilities. Community life is vital for these children. They deserve the same opportunities as their non-disabled peers to grow, learn, and thrive outside of school. I urge you to ensure the 2026 budget allocates adequate funding for therapeutic recreation and accommodation services under Howard County Recreation and Parks. This funding should prioritize 1, hiring and retaining enough inclusion companions to meet the demand. 2, expanding therapeutic recreation programs for children under the age 15, including after-school and summer camp options. Thank you for listening to my testimony. I deeply appreciate your consideration for these critical issues and hope for your support in creating equitable opportunities for all children in our community. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony and advocacy for children of all disabilities and services throughout our entire county.
Great. Next, we'll hear from Drew Roth, followed by Karen Biderman.
Request to unmute Drew has been sent.
Drew, are you with us?
Drew, if you can, yep. Nope.
Oh, Drew, I think we lost you.
Yeah, we just lost his audio.
Okay, we will circle
Nope.
back.
It's back. Let me try one more time.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right. I'm Drew Roth. I live in Elkridge. So here's my testimony. All regions of Howard County should receive the same level of services and amenities from the Howard County government. The capital budget should be focused on making this happen. In the first 5 years of the Calvin Ball administration, Columbia received over $255 million of investment in amenities. Elkridge, Ellicott City, and the rural West combined received less than $20 million over the same period. Going forward, the capital budget should be focused on bringing the regions that have been left behind up to a common standard. For Elkridge, that means building a high school immediately, building a community center with a 50-plus center and swimming pool immediately, expanding the library so we have the state standard of 1 square foot of library space per resident of the region served, completing all transit, bike, and pedestrian projects that have been promised and not delivered immediately. The budget should explicitly not include any funding for additional luxury amenities in Columbia, which has received far more than its fair share of investment over the last 6 years. There should be no lakefront library. There should be no new cultural center. Columbia should receive no special privilege in the quality of amenities provided and no special priority in the schedule for construction. There should be no expansion of existing high schools while Elkridge has no high school at all. Howard County Public School System is a single county-wide system. When the school system has a capacity shortfall, it is a shortfall of the system as a whole, not a shortfall for any particular school in the system. So when seats are added to address the shortfall, those seats should be added to the part of the county where the seats are lacking, where the most students travel furthest to their assigned school. At the high school level, that means building a high school in Elkridge. The budget should contain no projects to expand Oakland Mills High School or Centennial High School. That new capacity belongs in Elkridge, not in regions that already have high schools. We all understand that state funding for school construction requires a capacity need. When capacity is added to areas of the county that already have high schools, we all understand that will further delay the construction of a high school in Elkridge where the need is greatest. The dilapidated condition of Oakland Mills High School should be addressed immediately by replacing it with a new high school in Elkridge. Maintenance problem solved. The area around Oakland Mills High School only generates 900 students, which doesn't come close to filling the school now, much less with an expansion. The hundreds of excess seats at Oakland Mills High School are filled with students bused in from Elkridge. Elkridge students have a school where they live, not a long bus ride to Columbia. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We are going to go to Karen Biederman next, and then we're going to circle back to Jay Chang.
The request to unmute has been sent to Karen. Please note there is a little bit of delay for the unmute to show up on your screen.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening. I'm Karen Biederman, president of the Dunlogan Middle School PTA. I have a 7th grader at Dunlogan and a 9th grader at Centennial. There are 78 schools in Howard County and only enough county funds to start one major capital improvement project a year. 43% of our schools are over 50 years old. While a number of them have been renovated, schools are being added to the deferred maintenance list faster than the county can afford to fix them. House Bill 1450 Work Group has researched that Howard County school system is severely underfunded at 46% of actual capital improvement needs. I know, Dr. Ball, you state that the school system is fully funded, but that is only partially true of what the BOE submits. The BOE is encouraged to only submit a mere fraction of actual need while the deferred maintenance list continues to grow and our schools are falling in a state of decay. We have over $800 million in deferred maintenance for our schools. $800 million. My children attend 2 of the worst conditioned schools in the county. Dunlogan should be condemned and replaced, not renovated. One of the structural engineers in the county stated that it will take more funding to retrofit Dunlogan Middle School with its aging 50-year-old infrastructure than it would be to replace it altogether. Dunlogan remains at the top of the unfunded capital improvement projects and deferred maintenance list after we were promised a new school a year and a half ago. Over half of Dunlogan students feed into Centennial High School, the 2nd highest school with deferred maintenance and poor conditions. Dunlogan to Centennial High School is the very worst 2 feeders of all 78 schools for capital improvement. Dunlogan and Centennial High School students carry 20% of the deferred maintenance load. A third of my neighborhood goes to private school because the conditions are so bad at Dunlogan, you are losing enrollment. Dunlogan, Patapsco, and Centennial High School have the worst conditions in the county, and we are in District 1. The majority of kids at Centennial High School reside in District 1. Dr. Ball, I appreciate you previously representing Oakland Mills community, but I sincerely ask that you objectively assess the needs of all kids in the county. Talbot Springs was replaced 2022. Oakland Mills Middle School was funded June 2024. And now the BOE is pushing for Oakland Mills High School to get the remainder of the Built to Learn funding. 3 schools, 1 neighborhood, less than 10 years, while there are 78 schools in the county. Please recognize the needs of all the kids in the county. I clarified with the Maryland delegation and Director Lubley that Built to Learn funding can be used for any of our failing schools. BOE has voted in support of the next school for deferred maintenance in past years, and they are number 1, Dunlogan, number 2, Centennial High School, number 3, Patapsco Middle School, number 4, Oakland Mills High School, in that order. The BOE does not earn the capital improvement money. The taxpayers fund it. My sincere ask is that you dedicate more of the county's budget to our failing school buildings and also dedicate PAYGO 50% to 100% of your PAYGO money to go to the Howard County capital budget needs for the school system so we can clear the deferred maintenance needs of the school system. The school system is a big draw for our population in this county, and if we do not preserve and enhance our school systems, citizens will move to neighboring counties and keep enrolling in private schools. We have 238 portables, which are a huge safety risk for the school, as the back door of the schools are being opened continuously throughout the day so the kids can access these portables. Ice rinks, outdoor tracks, and a showcase library by the lake are not critical needs. Our kids have to go to school. These building conditions are critical. For the operating budget, we need to decrease class size. 34 is too many. Staffing wise, we need to look at the allocation of middle school admins as they sway with ratios from 1 admin to 438 for Mount View Middle to 1 admin to 117 students at Harper's Choice. All of the Columbia schools have 2 assistant principals. The vast majority of non-Columbia schools only have 1 assistant principal. There are 78 schools in the county. Ellicott City continues to be skipped over, while residents in the county, like my household, is taxed at 50%. I live in Ellicott City and I pay CA tax. We can't continue to only uplift and recognize Columbia schools. Spread the resources to support all the schools. Dunlogan remains critical need of the FY26 CIP budget. We have condemnable conditions: lead in the water, 54 kids to a toilet, 5 portables, mice, termites, beetles, ants, bees, paint chipping from the ceiling, and an odor tight footprint where kids and teachers are getting shoved around every day, HVAC and boilers that have passed their useful life. Please fund the school system. Thank you for your time.
Testimony.
Next, we'll hear from Jay Chang, followed by Jackie Yang.
The request to unmute has been sent to Jay. Please remember the delay in the response.
Jade, are you with us?
Hear me now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good evening. This is Jade. I'm a proud parent of 3 Centennial High School students and a volunteer for the Chinese Association at Centennial, serving Centennial High School and local community. Centennial High School has not had any renovation for 23 years. The 4-season temperatures from one hallway to another, from one classroom to another, from the gym room to the cafeteria is just phenomenal. The temperature dropped lower and lower, starting at around 10 a.m., which is the 3rd period of class, every morning due to the HVAC's malfunction. In some rooms, the highest temperature is 63 degrees, ladies and gentlemen, with a horrible humidity of over 75%. At the same time, the other part of the building is beyond 80 degrees. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you love to switch between a hot, wet sauna and ice room, do not look for a Korean sauna place or fly to Iceland. Do not look any further. At Centennial High School, we offer that to everybody free of charge. No windows in the classroom, no air conditioning in the gym. Incidents of mold findings are reported on a regular basis. The air filters have been removed or stopped at the beginning of the school year resulting in increasing amount of allergy reactions, asthma attacks, cold or flu-like symptoms, under the weather symptoms, you name it. This is the everyday life of Centennial High School people. It is a shame that our kids, our students, are not properly cared of by the school system. They have equal rights to those in other schools, and they deserve an equal amount of attention. Talking about equity, we struggle to understand why, out of all the 78 schools, 3 schools that were funded were on the top of the list in less than 10 years were all located in the same neighborhood. Taupo Springs Elementary School, Oakland Mills High School, and Oakland Mills Middle School. While Centennial High School, together with its feeder school, Dunlogan Middle School, carrying 20% of all deferred maintenance for the county's 78 schools, have been denied funding year after year like a never-ending story. Centennial High School has been on and off the list like a domino. If we compare Centennial High School to Oakland Mills High School, both were built around, Centennial High School has been, both were built around the same time homes for the same number of students. Plus, Centennial High School is over capacity and will be burdened more with additional students with the next round of redistricting, we suppose. In other words, there is heavier usage of AVERYs for every single square foot of Centennial High School, and there's more wear and tear associated with this overcapacity. From the perspective of appropriate allocation and efficient usage of funding, to fund Centennial High School is the way to go. The reason being more students will benefit for every single dollar of renovation spent. In conclusion, Centennial High School has been qualified for renovation for decades, and we need to see that happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony.
Next, we'll hear from Jackie Ng, followed by Janine Pollock.
Request to unmute Jackie has been sent.
Jackie, are you with us?
Good evening, Dr. Ball.
Good evening.
It's my privilege to offer testimony this evening on behalf of the Housing Affordability Coalition's 900 plus member individuals and organizations. The coalition understands that the Spending Affordability Committee has forecast significant declining revenue over the next 2 or more years, which undoubtedly will require the county to make some very difficult capital and operating budget decisions. As you grapple with these tough decisions, the coalition urges you to not step away from current county programs that in the past 2 years have been initiated to help economically vulnerable county residents stay in their homes. Coalition requests that your FY 2026 budget proposal include $3 million for the new HCPSS and HCC rental subsidy programs, enabling them to continue after July 1, 2025. Coalition is encouraged by the announcement the construction of the new Cultural Center and Artist Flats mixed income housing project will begin in the spring. Congratulations to everyone involved in this long overdue achievement. Now focus can shift to making location decisions and setting plans in motions for the new Central Library and the Banneker Fire Station. We ask that the FY26 budget includes sufficient funding to ensure that both projects, critical to meeting the public safety and housing requirements of the Downtown Columbia Plan's DRRA, move forward at an accelerated pace. As the coalition requested last year, we ask that you include FY26 funding to compensate developers for differences in construction costs of an accessible and non-accessible MIHU. So going forward, 10% of the required MIHUs will be accessible to serve the needs of seniors and persons with disabilities in our community. The coalition was supportive in fiscal year 2025 when homeless services was integrated into the Department of Housing and Community Development. We were and continue to be concerned, however, that funding for the salaries of the staff members associated with the program was not transferred with the program. This has required DHCD to fund these salaries from its operating budget, which has in turn decrease monies available for program services. Now that transfer tax and MIHU fee and lieu revenues, the primary sources of funding for housing programs, have and are expected to continue to decline, it's simply not viable for the department to continue to cover these salary expenses. Coalition's final request is for $10 million for the Housing Opportunities Trust Fund. As no new funding was appropriated in FY25, the trust fund currently has zero money to support its goals. With an empty fund, there will be little or no progress on creating the 340 new affordable units allocated in the general plan, nor preserving current affordable units. The little momentum thus far achieved by the fund is now dead in the water. As we've stated since the trust fund's authorization, a fully actualized and sustainable trust would require a minimum annual fund balance of about $30 million and a dedicated permanent revenue source. We recognize that accruing $30 million through the county's annual budget process, particularly in this economic environment, is likely not achievable. The coalition, therefore, has been researching how other successful housing trusts are funded. Based on that research, we believe that we have a proposal that can provide the desired long-term sustainability of the trust with a minimal annual county appropriation. Earlier today, I requested a meeting with Ms. Cabellon to present the program. We know that consideration of one or more new funding approaches will take some time, which is why we are requesting the $10 million in FY26 funding to keep the trust operational. In closing, the coalition would like to add to the context of the economic challenges facing the county. While this testimony is focused on expenses, we remind the administration and the community that housing is a revenue contributor. Expanding the county's economic base will depend on the availability of affordable housing at all levels, all income levels. New employers and their employees will generate new revenues. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify this evening. Coalition colleagues and I are available to discuss these budget requests with you at any time. And we all wish you and your staff, who work so hard to keep our county going, a truly wonderful holiday. Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you for your testimony, and thank you for acknowledging the team who works incredibly hard. I know this is an evening of asking for more, but I just want to publicly thank Howard County staff and those who work for Howard County, who work hard every day to help ensure that we have the very best quality of life here.
Right, thank you. Next, we'll hear from Janine Pollock, followed by Benjamin Smith.
The request on mute, Janine's been sent.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, good evening. My name is Janine Pollock, and I'm representing Longreach Cares, the community action and resources for environmental stewardship for the village of Longreach in Columbia. If you visit my house, you might think you're at a zoo for plants. Just about every small tree or plant I have is caged. Obviously not to keep the plants from wandering off, but to protect them from the deer. I've tried everything. Terrible smelling sprays, soap hung from the branches, fishing line to trip or spook them. Several of my neighbors have recently resorted to devices that emit painful, high-pitched noises and have flashing blue lights. At night, our street looks like one of the runways at BWI. But for me, wire cages remain the only surefire deer protection. There have always been deer. Why is it such a problem now? Pre-colonization population estimates are 30 million individuals. Over the next few centuries, we cleared forests in favor of agricultural land and cities, thus reducing habitat. Humans also took to hunting, harvesting deer for their meat and fur. By the early 1900s, the population was estimated at less than 215,000, a 99% decrease from the estimated high. Since that time, however, deer populations have completely rebounded back to those pre-colonization levels. One reason, we have removed nearly all the predators. Wolves, bears, and mountain lions are no longer keeping deer numbers in check. Hunting is no longer in favor as it once was. And while the total amount of open land has obviously decreased from the 1600s, we have actually created the perfect habitat for them. Deer don't prefer to live deep in the forest, nor can they survive in a big expanse of lawn. Prime real estate for deer is edge habitat. And our housing developments, particularly in Howard County, often leave small wooded lots or abut to parks or open space. And this edge habitat is where they thrive. As a result, local deer populations have exploded. And yes, while the fawns are adorable and remind everyone of Bambi, the deer are creating an ecological disaster. If you know me, you know I'm a proponent of native wildlife. Deer are native, so what's the problem? There's simply an imbalance. Deer populations are so large that they eat all the vegetation that is even somewhat palatable. And their preference? Native plants. Native plants are the foundation of our local ecosystems. They are the food source for local insects, which in turn are the food source for larger insects, birds, mammals, and so on. Non-native invasive plants, such as Bradford pear, Asiatic bittersweet, or multiflora rose, are not palatable and are left alone. These plants serve no ecological benefit, but they are all that the deer leave behind. Remove the native plants, and you eventually have ecosystem collapse. As an environmental engineer by trade and a devoted weed warrior in my community, I'm seeing this firsthand. I've logged hundreds of hours in open space, removing invasives and planting natives. It's very rare that I come across a baby oak or a small maple. The deer always seem to find them first. The county clearly understands the importance of these areas and has invested a lot of money on plants and programs to revitalize them, including the annual tree giveaway, Bee City, and more. Unfortunately, all of these hours and dollars are completely in vain if more isn't also done about the deer. We are asking the county to further invest in deer management by fully funding a second wildlife biologist position. I would also ask that the county coordinate with local organizations such as the Columbia Association to extend deer management practices beyond our parklands and into neighborhoods where the deer population surges unabated. Lastly, I would request that you tap into local environmental groups such as ours and the other CARES organizations to assist in these efforts. We interact with citizens at various events in the community and can help educate, engage, and even persuade. This problem will take the efforts of many to achieve our goals of deer populations in step with the carrying capacity of the land. Working together, though, with sufficient funding and resources, I'm hopeful we can succeed. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
And thank you for your testimony.
Next, we'll hear from Benjamin Schmidt, followed by Christine Hipple.
The request to unmute Benjamin has been sent.
Good evening, Dr. Ball. My name is Benjamin Schmidt, and I'm the president of the Howard County Education Association, our union of over 6,000 educators in the Howard County public school system. I'm speaking on their behalf today, as well as my own, being that I'm also a parent and live in Howard County. I want to start my remarks by thanking Dr. Ball and the County Council for their investments in education in previous years. Those funds have been used to increase pay for educators, add positions for special education, and meet the current requirements of the blueprint legislation. As much as these investments have helped, we are struggling to recruit in areas of critical need and retain the veteran educators we have. Year over year, while the amount above maintenance of effort continues to increase, the overall percentage of both the general fund and the education budget allocated to the school system has slowly decreased for years because of investments made to other county services. However, our school system remains the largest employer in the county, and our schools, rated the best in the state this year, are the reason that so many people choose to live here. Our schools are the main economic driver of Howard County, and it's the dedication and skills of our educators who make student success a reality. So what exactly do educators need from the budget? We need a budget that values the work of all educators and staff at every stage of our career, invests in areas of critical need, and addresses the high rate of vacancies and overwhelming workloads. Howard County competes with surrounding districts over the same dwindling pool of educators graduating from local colleges and universities. Nearly all of those districts travel to recruit educators across the East Coast, including Howard County, which means that graduates can demand more on the open market. So if we want our schools to continue to excel, we have to offer higher starting salaries while retaining our veteran educators so that they stay and mentor those up and coming. This includes our support professionals who work in some of the most challenging roles in our system, but continue to be the lowest paid, while the cost of living in Howard County is one of the highest in the state. We're facing emerging and critical shortages in all areas of special education. That's why I'm here tonight speaking from HCEA with members of our Special Education Committee. It is impossible for the current levels of staffing in special education teachers, paras, and student assistants to keep up with current service levels. These positions make up nearly 10% of our educators. However, they comprise 50% of school system vacancies. That vacancy rate means that some schools are short on teachers in special education, and others do not have the student assistants or paras to staff our most vulnerable students. Last year, the school system received funds for an additional 50 positions in special ed, but as of this month, has not been able to fill them. Before we add more positions in the budget in this area, we have to stabilize our workforce and look very closely at the programs we offer in each building. Our special education committee has been looking at looking at a hard reset of programming throughout the system, as the needs of students in 2024 are being placed in a system that is from the year 2000. It just doesn't work. Our community deserves a budget that lowers class size, protects our schools from potential program cuts at the federal level, and addresses the mental health needs of our students. Over the years, class sizes have continued to rise incrementally, and never has the board nor the county government prioritized reductions. Some classes, now over 34 students, in classrooms never built to house such numbers. However, something that is rarely highlighted is that increasing class sizes means that smaller electives like world languages are no longer available at every high school. The consequence of the recent elections mean that the incoming federal administration and Congress are threatening to take away funding from agencies and programs that support low-income families and students with disabilities. The elimination or freezing of these funds would devastate the students from Title I schools and those with special needs. Howard County needs to stand out by setting itself as an example that won't crumble under federal pressure. HCEA urges Dr. Ball to present a budget where Howard County takes the lead on education throughout the state and even the nation. Between the educators, parents, and students in this jurisdiction, we have the energy, fortitude, and power to do this. We know that you do too by presenting a budget that prioritizes funding to the school system for students and educators and recognizes it as what makes this county stand out in the state. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, your advocacy, and your work on behalf of our educator.
Thank you.
Great. Next, we'll hear from Christine Hippel, followed by Bruce Newhall.
Christine's not present.
Okay. Next, we'll hear from Bruce Newhall, followed by Diamond Petty.
Bruce is not present.
Okay. Next, we'll hear from Diamond Petty, followed by Lori Levine.
One moment, please. Diamond was present, but is no longer present.
Okay. Next, we'll hear from Lori Levine, followed by Willis Hanley.
Lori's not present.
Okay. Next, we'll hear from Willis Hanley, followed by Jolene Mosley.
We have a John Hanley. We'll unmute John.
Yep.
Moment. The request to unmute John has been sent. And we just lost John's audio.
Okay. We'll take a few seconds to reconnect back to John.
Yep. Let me refresh. Yeah, I still don't have an audio connection for John.
Okay, let's circle back to John. We'll go to Jolene Mosley next.
The request to unmute Jolie's been sent.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey. Good evening. My name is Jolene Mosley, and I am the Howard County Board of Education Chair. Last year, the Board of Education Superintendent and staff implemented a very different operating budget process than in years past. In what was a very difficult budget year, the new process was praised as being more transparent and front-loading much of the difficult work to ensure sufficient time for consideration and public input. In October, the school system staff began this year's public process by providing a fiscal outlook report for the fiscal year 2026 budget. While the total school system budget grew by 3.7% in FY 2025, we found ourselves in the difficult position of having to make significant cuts to afford the growth of mandated and committed cost. In short, we identified $31.1 million in cuts and overcame the gap between the $71.7 million of increased cost compared to the $40.6 million of increased revenue. The reductions included a net decline of nearly 60 full-time positions. Even with these difficult budget reductions, balancing the budget required the use of more than $20 million of one-time funds for recurring costs. The FY26 budget will have to navigate the strains of the budget cuts and fill the one-time funding hole. It must also meet critical funding needs tied to the blueprint for Maryland's future. adding another grade of students at Guilford Park High School, and accounting for the increased cost of student transportation and health benefits and insurance. These costs are all significant and will require additional funding we hope to receive in 2026. At the same time, we must also meet the challenge of funding several significant priorities, including needs in special education staffing and services, safety and security, sunsetting COVID grants, increased facilities maintenance costs, and funds for employee compensation to attract and retain the top talent in our school system. While we are facing another year of difficult decisions, it has become clear that the process implemented last year and the actions taken by the Board of Education, superintendent, and staff created the groundwork to make this year more manageable. Unlike last year, the FY26 is not starting in the deficit. The superintendent and staff are currently prioritizing expenditure needs in a very strategic way around mandates, commitments, and priorities. The board will begin our process following the presentation of the superintendent's recommended FY 2026 operating budget on January 9th. However, as we look ahead, we are going to continue to need the full support of the county executive and county council as we maintain and grow our school system to meet the needs and expectation of Howard County children, families, and community members. Thank you for your continuing to partner with us and prioritize funding necessary to minimize the impact on the students of Howard County.
Thank you for your leadership, your partnership, and all that you do for our children, our educators, and our families in the school system.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to circle back to John Henley.
One moment, please. The request to unmute John has been sent.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Sorry about that. Good evening, Dr. Ball. My name is John Hanley. I live in Hanover with my wife, Kirtana. I'm testifying this evening to advocate for our schools. The fiscal year 25 budget decisions have resulted in blows to our community, especially our students and school staff. I'm hopeful, though, for the future. However, we have a brand new superintendent, some newly elected Board of Education members, and we're in the early stages of implementing mandates prescribed in the blueprint legislation. Of course, these present challenges, but I see this budget as a unique opportunity to reevaluate and realign our fiscal priorities. Howard County's excellent schools have long been our competitive advantage, but this valuable asset will continue to decline if we continue to hemorrhage educators and fail to recruit new talent. A multi-year financial commitment to our educators is necessary if we're going to reassure our teachers, paraprofessionals, and student assistants that there is job security in Howard County. There should be a complete moratorium on class size increases, and we must focus on filling our current vacancies. Our educators should not be forced to make up our county's budget shortfalls with unpaid labor. Our budget should also account for differentiated pay so that our educators who work with the most vulnerable students receive compensation commensurate with their workday demands. Support professionals should be paid a living wage, and veteran educators shouldn't have to be satisfied with pay scales that cap several years before their retirement. I realize that you don't dictate the high limit on the Board of Education's proposed fiscal year 26 budget, but you certainly have an influence over the amount they request. This year, it's imperative that you use that demonstrated influence to encourage the BOE to request a budget that is large enough to meaningfully address educator compensation without decreasing employee benefits. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
Next, we'll hear from Genevieve Bonin, followed by Laura Wisely.
Genevieve is not present.
Okay, next we'll hear from Laura Wisely, followed by Jonathan McKinney.
Request to unmute Laura has been sent.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, 1 second, sorry. Hi, my name is Laura Wisely, and I am representing the Elkridge Community Association, or sorry, Elkridge Community Alliance. And we are a community group that formed because we have a disproportionate amount of unaddressed infrastructure needs than most areas of the county, and advocacy is needed. We mostly make up the Route 1 corridor, and an entire section of the general plan is dedicated to this area of the county. But even though we may have the most pages dedicated to our needs and the most studies published regarding our issues and concerns, disproportionate amount of budget funds have been dedicated to addressing these needs through the decades. We address budget priorities at all of our meetings and have even polled our community. The Elkridge Community Alliance community prioritizes our top three. Number one, land acquisition for a high school that will not be taken away. Number two, land acquisition to build out the dedicated South Civic District, including the proposed community center. Number three, we also prioritize safety measures to our roads and pedestrians, which also include the proposed police substation with more localized social services. The ECA community is disheartened and fearful that comprehensive planning and implementation will not happen for our community. We have shouldered the intense increased density for the past 2 decades, but are still waiting for the promised infrastructure that supports the density. When will we have return on our investment of our tax dollars show up in our community? When I look at priorities of other local community groups, they are mostly focused on maintenance asks or improvements to their already existing infrastructure. Elkridge is always asking, when will the infrastructure happen? This year, we finally got a sidewalk project in a school zone that had been being pushed by the community for more than 12 years. That sidewalk project eliminated the need for 6 school buses and now allows for a safer walk to school. Many potential initiatives were recently proposed to the Elkridge and Hanover area entitled Elkridge Forward. We are appreciative of the time and the effort placed into these initiatives, really and truly. However, we want to ensure plans get implemented. We feel Elkridge Forward seems like we are trend-setting, like the future of the county, but really the items listed were crosswalks, community centers, school zone, stoplights, are all the things that are community essentials that exist in other areas of the county already. Instead of Elkridge Forward, it is really Elkridge Catch Up. We want to be caught up and up to par with our amazing Howard County neighbors. We want an equitable budget that represents the values of Howard County. Speaking of catching up, ECA feels strongly that our school environments need to be caught up as well. Elkridge is used to seeing dollars reserved in annual budgets for an Elkridge project that never comes to fruition. Where do all these dollars go? What are they spent on? What is the algorithm for unspent projects? When will we use funds to pay off our extreme deferred maintenance of schools? It is time to get that done, and the Elkridge community wants to see our schools deferred maintenance zero. An equitable budget is needed. Again, our priorities are land acquisition for a high school that will not be taken away. 2, land acquisition to build out the dedicated South Civic District, including the proposed community center. And 3, we also prioritize safety measures to our roads and pedestrians, which also includes the proposed police substation with more localized social services. Thank you so very much for your time and your listening ear. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for your testimony and all the work that you and the community have done to organize and get together and effectively communicate to us over the last several months.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Jonathan McKinney, followed by Kevin Bruning.
Request on mute. John's been sent.
Jonathan, I think we lost you.
One moment, let me refresh.
Getting close. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, Dr. Ball and esteemed county leaders. My name is Jonathan McKinney, and I'm a resident of Howard County. Thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight. I'm testifying tonight on behalf of the Community Ecology Institute, of course, a Howard County-based nonprofit with a mission to cultivate communities where people and nature thrive together. We come before you with great appreciation for the county support of the Community Ecology Institute over the last 6 years. We're very proud of the impact that we have been able to have in our community this year. We look forward to sharing our 2024 impacts with you at the next budget hearing. In the interim, we would like to reflect on a question that we're hearing frequently from our community right now, and that's, what can I do to make a difference in such turbulent times? As we know, I don't know what happened. Excuse me. I'm sorry, as we know, it's together uh, that is together we have the capacity to build personal and collective resilience. And it starts with showing up locally and intentionally while building relationships and recognizing our interdependence. At the Community Ecology Institute, we're committed to this work, and we're continuing to connect people to one another and nature. By supporting the Community Ecology Institute, the county is helping offer experiences that support mental and physical health, provide fresh produce to local food assistance programs, teach people how to grow and prepare their own food, engage kids and teens in screen-free learning, foster synergies across multiple organizations, support people by taking direct climate action, protecting and restoring natural habitats, building community across generations, and cultivating hope. You are also helping us sustain a safe, welcoming space. Sustain the safe and welcoming spaces that we've created, like Freetown Farm and the Green Pharmacy Garden. Through all of our work, CEI has fostered the health of our community members and the special place that we call home. In the years ahead, we will continue to focus on tangible community level change at the intersection of community, education, equity, and health. For example, in 2024, we have focused on climate change engagement and education in alignment with the county's climate action plan. And we will be presenting our new climate action toolkit by the end of the week. Looking to 2025, we will sustain this important work by focusing on a theme of connected resilience that is responsive to our community's desire to feel like they are known, safe, skilled, and able to make a difference. CEI is truly a unique place of diverse common ground in Howard County. Our work aligns with the vision of Columbia as a garden for growing people, with a determination for Howard County to be the best county of all. As I close, we at CEI know that Howard County leaders are committed to the health of our community members. Again, we deeply appreciate your past support, and we ask you to maintain impactful funding for CEI in the community's forthcoming operating budget. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your work. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
Well, thank you for your time and your partnership and your wonderful testimony.
Next, we'll hear from Kevin Bruning, followed by Karina Fisher.
One moment, please. Sorry, I need to refresh. I'm not seeing the name.
And county executive staff.
Yep, we can hear you.
I'll go with the phone. So, good evening. I'm the chair of the River Hill Community Association. However, this evening I'm speaking as a resident. On October 30th, the River Hill Community Association sent to the county executive a request for funds for sound barriers. At that time, the village wrote, pre-COVID vehicle traffic has doubled more than 26,000 vehicles per day to more than 55,000 vehicles per day. This has had a dramatic effect on the quality of life for those living in homes adjacent to the highway. Therefore, the River Hill Community Association Board of Directors is requesting that the state of Maryland and Howard County allocate the necessary funding to objectively measure the noise levels in residential neighborhoods in proximity to Maryland Route 32 from Route 108 to Cedar Lane on both the north and south sides of the highway, using the testing method defined by the Federal Highway Administration, FHWA-PD-96-046. Further, pending the results of the federal highway testing, the River Hill Community Association Board of Directors is requesting that county officials and civil servants secure funding for the adequate noise barriers for the 2.5 miles affected along the highway to reduce noise pollution and improve the quality of life for residents whose homes are affected. That is 1.25 miles on each side of the highway. I'd like to add that vehicle traffic is often at high speeds, which increases traffic noise. The vehicle noise includes 18-wheeler traffic, motorcycles, truck heavy loads that when downshifting can be heard miles away. The county installed sound barriers at Route 29 from 32 to Broken Land Parkway, as well as on Route 216 with the goal of reducing noise pollution. While these communities are currently no different, and we potentially may be worse than those communities who receive those sound barriers. At this time, the county fund measures that would stop noise pollution for residents of River Hill. We humbly ask the county executive to allocate funds for both the study and the construction.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ball, and your staff. Have a good evening.
You too.
Next, we'll hear from Karina Fisher, followed by Danae Barr. Karina?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Karina Fisher, and I reside in Ellicott City. I'm testifying in support of what will be the Board of Education's funding request for HCPSS. I am hopeful that our new superintendent will fulfill his legal responsibility in requesting what is needed to properly run this school system, where over 57,000 children are in the guardianship of, and where over 9,000 employees report day in and day out. I then am hopeful that the Board of Education will support that ask and add to it if necessary. My request tonight is that you fully support and fully fund that budget ask when the time comes. Currently, my child attends the highest capital needs school in this county, and that is Dunlogan Middle School. He then will go on to attend Centennial High School, which is the highest capital needs high school in this county. We have a total of 78 schools in this county, and the children of our community in Ellicott City will be receiving both their middle school and high school education in buildings that have been deemed academically insufficient and functionally unreliable by state and county standards. This is where our children are in what are supposed to be a world-class school system and buildings. Tonight, I could ramble off revenue stream suggestions, numbers, data, and talking points, but I want to focus a little bit elsewhere. Before COVID struck and our system shut down, I served as special assistant in the District 1 Council office under Liz Walsh. My first session that I attended on council staff was a session that was the Maryland Association of Counties Winter Conference, which was held in 2029. In one of the presentations that I found really inspirational, there was a legislator that ran a campaign based on infrastructure needs in his county. His campaign advisors said he would never win because his campaign was lukewarm and talked about concrete structures. But he instead saw bridges as the county's infrastructure and the connectors to all the waterways that ran in his county. And they were most important in connecting constituents to their jobs, emergency services, kids to schools, and were essentially the heartbeat of his county. So he ignored those campaign advisors and instead dug in because he knew it was needed. That story struck me as I found him not only to be inspirational, but also responsible to those he serves. I am asking for that kind of responsible vision when prioritizing what is Howard County's equivalent of that county's bridges, and that is our school system. It is failing the children and the families of this county with over $800 million in capital budget needs and classroom sizes that are now on their third increase. I appreciate the opportunity to testify this evening, and I thank you all and hope that everyone has a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you, and I hope that you also have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Danae Barr, followed by Joseph Linden.
Danae is not present.
Okay, next we'll hear from Joseph Linden, followed by Adil Ehman.
The request to unmute Joseph has been sent.
Joseph Linden. I'm here to advocate for freedom and safety with a specific interest in bike trails and a bridge over the Middle Patuxent River. I bike to and from work when weather allows. Because I need to cross the Middle Patuxent River, I need to ride on Old Columbia Road, climbing the hill next to Route 29. This route is rated as for the strong and fearless. It's not safe. There's a simple solution to this. Connect the paths at the ends of Edenbrook Drive and Kindler Road by building a bridge over the river. This bridge would help more than just my commute. It would connect the largest employer in the county to the Columbia Bike Network. It would also connect the students of Hammond Middle School and Hammond Elementary School who live north of the river to their school. A coworker told me that this bridge would also make his neighborhood perfect because it would connect his house to his child's preschool. While I am advocating specifically for this bridge, I want to emphasize the importance of the entire bike network. Bikes represent freedom. Freedom to people who don't have multiple thousands to spend on a car, and freedom to people who have their car in the shop, and freedom for the kids of our community who are otherwise reliant on adults to get anywhere. Bike paths also represent the value a community places on health. Cycling is amazing, both for physical and mental health. By extension, providing the infrastructure so that people have the choice to cycle to their destination encourages people to live in healthier and happier lives. Providing alternate methods of transportation also makes it better for people who are in cars. When I'm driving, I don't like it when I'm behind a bicycle. I'd much rather them be on their own path. Providing an alternate parallel network to connect cyclists and pedestrians from their homes to their works, stores, and third spaces will increase everybody's freedom of movement. Circling back to Kindler Bridge, I want to thank Councilwoman Rigby and the Howard County Council for authorizing K5066, a feasibility study for this bridge, and I'm asking you to take the next step and provide the funding for this project. I also want to thank Paige Goldshire, Chris Itow, and Felix Ficini for their assistance in advocating for this project. And I also want to thank Wesley Furman and Krista Rand and others for sharing their stories with me on why they want this bridge. When I have kids, if I'm living where I am today, I want them to be able to walk to school or bike to school without having to worry about their safety. This is a matter of freedom for me and for our community of Howard County. Please fund alternatives to driving everywhere. Please fund the Kindler Bridge. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. We are nearing the end of our signups. If you are joining us and you have not yet testified, please give us a note in the chat. Next, we'll hear from Adil Ahmed, followed by FNU Shipra.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adil Ahmed. I serve on the board of directors of the Owen Brown Village Community Association. Please forgive my scruffy voice. We're all overcoming colds here in this house with 2 toddlers that we just put to bed. But I got to say, before the 3 points I want to make for the Village Association, the comments tonight have been phenomenal. I'm just so impressed by my neighbors and citizens of this county for speaking up and developing such thoughtful comments to all of you that you have the burden of implementing. So thank you all for being here, and thank you, County Executive, thank you, County Council, thank you to the staff. So there are 3 points I just wanted to make on behalf of the village. The first is we are deeply concerned by the widening of the Snowden River Parkway. It is, the area has become like a mini highway. There are drag racers flying up and down Snowden River, and we are concerned about the widening between Oakland Mills and Broken Land Parkway. We believe it's become a security hazard for our community, for children and students crossing Snowden River after school, for elderly, couples who are going on evening strolls, for families who are trying to cross the road and take their children to fishing classes or just go to the bar. We believe that the investments there can be put into stronger multimodal options, and we'd be happy to talk to you all about some of those options that we are hearing from residents in this community. The second point I want to make is we want to encourage the county council to continue investments in complete streets along Cradle Rock Way. It's important for the cohesion of Owen Brown, for that area to be accessible to all people, and it's important for people to be able to cross Cradle Rock, drop off their kids to daycare, go shopping, go back home. That area has been off to a great start, and we want to encourage it. And the third point I want to make on behalf of the Village Association tonight is a continued investment and progress along the pathways, particularly the southern end of the Little Patuxent Parkway connecting to Lake Elkhorn. We believe continuing the progress of that pathway to connect us by path to downtown Columbia to Atholton High School will make it easier for students and the families here to be able to go enjoy downtown and also to get to school. So those are the 3 points that I've been asked by my peers to make them before all of you tonight. Would appreciate your consideration. And just one additional note, we've submitted comments in writing, would appreciate you all taking a look at that, and please get back to us with any questions you might have. And have a great night. Thank you all.
Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to FNU Shipra, followed by Amy Shane.
Oh, yeah, I don't see her either.
We do not see Shapiro on anymore.
Okay, so next we'll go to Amy Shane, and then we will circle back to Christine Hippel.
The request to unmute Amy has been sent.
Hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I'm a county PTA representative from Mount View Middle School, and I'm here as a parent to request additional funding for Howard County Public Schools in order to decrease class size and to request that public schools get a larger percentage of the budget. My family moved here 2 years ago from New York for a job in Baltimore, and like many families, chose Howard County based on its reputable school system. Unfortunately, we find a school system in infrastructural decline, riddled with crumbling buildings, and in our experience, rampant overcrowding, not to mention lacking basic supplies such as paper, cutting essential staff, and cutting the beloved programming, including music and GT classes that brings families to the county. In fact, new students cannot join our middle school band because there's not enough room. And even more disappointing, we found a county executive office that has not adequately funded our schools, despite our extremely high taxes. I hear there are $81 million we can obtain from the state if we match it. With the tax base already existing, why can't we match it? Where's it all going? If we can match the state funds, it will open a new stream of revenue, but the county needs to release those funds to match. I'd like to paint a picture for you of what the overcrowding does in our schools. My son's 4th grade class of 23 students was crammed into a room meant to be used as a resource room. There was not enough space for the teacher to have a proper desk, just a moving cart, nor for the students to have space to move or stretch, or have story time on the floor or do group work. How is this acceptable? There are numerous portables being used as classrooms. At some schools, they back up to the woods. When my son needed the bathroom, he had to leave the portable to get back into the main building, but the door was locked. This leaves kids an opportunity to elope into the woods. Do you think there are cost savings with the lawsuit that could result from that? And meanwhile, bathrooms are serving far more kids than they were built to do. There are over 30 kids in my daughter's Spanish class crammed into a portable built for a lower capacity. Her school is next to the high school. What can these kids do in the event of a school shooting? Her social studies teacher last year said she requested the portable for added privacy. Who is checking in on classes and portables? Is anyone stopping by or passing in the hall and ensuring all is well? Overall, kids in portables are vulnerable, and this is unacceptable. The county urgently must fund schools to limit overcrowding. Overcrowded schools are dangerous. There are obvious issues with fire safety. At Mount View, kids are forced into a one-way system because it's too crowded to allow for walking in both directions, and they're rushed as a crowd with only 3 minutes between class. Kids have fallen and broken their limbs, shoved in the rush on the stairways to make it to class on time. Buses are so overcrowded, kids are sitting in the aisles. Do I need to spell out the danger here, or why and how fights break out? Injured kids file lawsuits. Litigation is expensive. Insurance policies are expensive. You cannot dismiss the dangerous conditions presented by overcrowding and the human and financial costs associated with these predictable outcomes. We are struggling middle-class families who are hustling and sacrificing to get our kids the best public education possible. I'm angry that we hustle to pay a mortgage on a house close to decent schools and pay high taxes for our kids to deal with these conditions. If the county wants to continue to experience a decent tax base, then schools will attract people who will pay those taxes. If our schools continue to decline, people will leave Howard County. Schools cannot rely upon a past reputation forever while presently overcrowded, underfunded, and declining. It's time to focus expenditures where our county residents need it most and our schools need it. Please fund our schools. Please keep our kids in mind during this process. I regret I did not have time to provide a more eloquent and succinct testimony, but I am speaking to you from my own experience. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. We will go to Christine Triple, followed by Sydney Montagney.
The request to unmute Christine has been sent.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, seems like we just lost Christine.
Hold on a second. I just sent another request to unmute Christine.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. My name is Christine Hippo. I'm a 44-year resident of Howard County. I'm a master gardener and a weed warrior. And I devote a lot of my time and energy to enhancing biodiversity to combat the devastation of climate change. When I was a little girl, my father was a hunter, and every fall I implored him not to shoot the beautiful, graceful deer that populated our beautiful central Pennsylvania landscape. He always assured me that by taking the place of natural predators, he was helping to keep the population of deer at sustainable levels. This would reduce the competition for food, lessen the risk of disease, and retain the forest understory as habitat and food for other animals. As a resident of Howard County, I've watched the degradation of our open space. I've watched the hungry, unhealthy deer destroy the native plants my colleagues, neighbor, and I are nurturing in order to protect our native birds and insects. And now I finally believe him. Not only is the deer overpopulation harmful to the environment, it causes so many traffic accidents, increases the risk of Lyme disease and other diseases among animals. I've come to realize that it's inhumane to have deer succumb to starvation and disease rather than natural circle of life. It's going to take significant skill, experience, and commitment for Howard County to develop and implement effective, humane, and safe deer management strategies. In this budget cycle, I implore you to provide funding for a second well-qualified wildlife biologist to expand these efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Last but not least, we will call up Sydney Montagney.
The request to unmute Sydney's been sent.
Sydney, are you with us?
Yep.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sydney. I actually spoke with you, Mr. Ball, on Saturday regarding the Christmas tree farm. I wanted to propose something regarding putting into the budget to save farmers and their farms. I know we here at Howard County has been very overpopulated, and the taxes regarding people with land or farms has risen. That is why one of our good friends lost their farm because of the taxes and the development that's being built. Just in regards to her specific farm, she was just growing Christmas trees. The taxes got way too high due to the development that was being built across the street and actually behind her property. And we were looking at how we could possibly save that farm or future farms. You know, if there is a house on the property, tear it down, make it a park, or something that people can go and enjoy. Christmas trees take a very long time to grow, and it is not something that can grow within, a year or two. And we want to make sure that farmers have the support to grow everything that they want to grow. You don't get your food without your farmers. And so that's just something we want to possibly propose to make a program or better educate people on farmers and how we can help them. And I have been working very closely with your team on how to save her farm specifically. And it was very nice to speak with you on Saturday. But yeah, if we can figure out how we can do that moving forward, I'd appreciate it, and so would my family. Also, possibly including more agricultural classes to schools, not just high schools, but elementary schools. We have a 5-year-old, and he loves the whole farming process, and our 2-year-old is enjoying it more and more every day. So if we can teach kids more about that, then they can, grow to love that as well. And thank you.
Well, thank you for your advocacy. I too enjoyed our conversation and look forward to us doing even more together.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have James Cecil.
He was here a second ago. I just refreshed. All right, I see him. The request to unmute James has been sent.
Thanks for giving me time this evening. In March, I came to testify about the negative impacts that special education vacancies were having on my son and so many families who are not having their rights to free and appropriate public education met. I appreciated the inclusion of special education in your letter to the board and the investments you made to support the addition of special educator positions in the FY25 budget. Unfortunately, my son has since begun his non-public placement in Baltimore County, as have so many other students who could have had their needs met in HCPSS if the funded positions were filled with qualified candidates. I've advocated for increased funds being connected to incentives for special educators to use their certification in their special education classrooms. I've also warned that more positions funded do not necessarily equate to more positions filled. Those warnings have proven to be true, as the most recent operating budget reports show that despite your investment and the investment of every Howard County taxpayer, the percentage of special education vacancies in FY25 is actually higher than they were at this point in FY24. The exact number is suspect, as they reported to the council this morning that they are dividing vacant FTEs for certified educators into paraeducator positions. And paraeducators provide amazing support to our children, but that is not what the superintendent asked for. It is not what the board requested from you, nor is it what you were led to believe that you were supporting. Versions of this practice have cost Howard County millions in redundant and ineffective spending and hiding realities that have delayed solutions. While I'm hopeful that the incoming executive director for special education and the upcoming comprehensive review will lead to solutions, it is hard to ignore that those who let so many vulnerable children down have received promotions and seem intent to carry on as they have before. The most recent HCA contract process being a stark reminder that the board did not adhere to the priorities that you have continued to express, as there are currently 0 proposed changes to their process. Per their support shared with council this morning, there are 211 vacancies, and they are reportedly spending $5.5 million less in category 6 compared to where they were in FY24. Those numbers were low too, due to consistent vacancy problems. Millions that they ask for every year end up back into the general fund to fill gaps elsewhere. And special education has become a sympathetic pawn to bait and switch the county into putting more money into the general fund to offset other flaws as opposed to where it was intended. I implore you to collaborate with HCEA on solutions that may actually move the needle on getting special educators back into our special education classrooms. We can bring kids back from the non-public placements and unlock those funds that are needed across the system and across the county. I also would request that you follow up with HCPSS to see how they can possibly be sincere in their attempt to fill these vacancies, as there are currently just 2 job postings live on their website now against 211 reported vacancies. None of them are school-based positions. I also want to say, please support Camp Attaway, as they have filled the gap and also address a lot of the trauma that our children face elsewhere.
Thank you for your testimony.
Next, we'll hear from Raquel Leftridge.
The request unmute has been sent. One moment. Reset the request. There she is.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
So I'm speaking. Oh, sorry, I'm on my computer on my phone.
Are you there?
Yes. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I think we just lost her.
Yeah, she dropped. Let me refresh. I don't see her on anymore.
Okay. That brings us to the.
Let's give her another minute. See if she can get back on.
Rochelle and Don possible?
There is Rakan Don.
Let's try that.
Let's try that.
Okay. Request to unmute has been sent to Raquel and Don.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, great. Hi, good evening. So as new homeowners in the Kings Woods neighborhood in North Laurel, and parents to both a 15 and a 1.5-year-old, my husband and I are compelled to share our concern regarding excessive speeding on Kings Grant Road. Our house sits at the top of a slope on Kings Grant Road where visibility is already reduced due to cars parked on the roadside. Drivers routinely speed through the neighborhood, making it challenging to safely check our mailbox, exit our car if parked roadside, or park back first into our driveway. We are especially concerned for pedestrians, whether they be residents walking their pets or children at play. On July 17th, the same day that we emailed Councilwoman Rigney concerning our concerns, my husband was a passenger in an Uber that was sideswiped by a speeding vehicle entering our neighborhood on Manorwood Road, just a half a mile from our home. The offending driver departed the scene of the accident so fast that their license plate information could not be captured. The police were called and my husband provided a statement. Since this event, District Aide Paige Golsher provided information regarding the county's new neighborhood traffic calming policy. We submitted an evaluation application on August 28th. We worry about raising a family in this unsafe circumstance and would greatly appreciate assistance in finding a timely and effective solution to this matter. The installation of traffic calming devices such as speed bumps or rumble strips would be impactful deterrents. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for your testimony.
And that brings us to the end of our testimony.
I want to thank all of the residents who participated in this evening and also sent us testimony or engaged us through the budget process up to this point. We're still working through to create a budget that addresses our issues, our concerns, our hopes, our dreams, and moves us forward in a realistic way. Particularly want to thank all of the county staff for all that you do, and especially for tonight, our IT and communications team who helped ensure that we had a very smooth evening once again. Have a good night and take care.